Chapter 5. Grandpa, Grandpa. A sorrowful voice suddenly rang out in the crowd. An old man with a real touch of class lay on the cold ground. By his side, a young girl wearing a long dress fell onto the old man and cried, "Call an ambulance! Call an ambulance!" Yolanda shouted in the crowd. She had been in too much of a rush and even forgot her cell phone. Outside the crowd stood a shadowy figure who looked very sad, but they didn't seem to be able to see him. 10 minutes later, the ambulance arrived, but the paramedics sighed at the first sight. "Now prepare for his funeral." "No, you're lying. Please save my grandfather. He is still alive." The paramedics shook their heads and remained silent. They had seen enough of this. "My condolences." The girl in the long dress fell to the ground, her face pale and her eyes darkening. "This is..." At this moment, Sean noticed the older man standing in the air. Then he looked at the corpse on the ground in shock. "Ghost?" The old man in the air noticed Sean's strange expression and was extremely surprised. "Young man, you can actually see me? So, what if you can see me? You youngsters ran me over." An unmistakable look of anger appeared on the older man's face. "You died from a heart attack, not a crash. It's got nothing to do with us." Sean sneered. With Polarity Jade, he had determined that the older man died of a heart attack at the first glance. "What are you talking about?" Hearing Sean say it got nothing to do with him, Yolanda gave him a look of disgust and became even more determined to divorce him. "I thought you were just mediocre, but I didn't expect you to be so irresponsible. Then I'll take responsibility myself." Yolanda was very angry. "Murderers! You are murderers! Give my grandfather back!" The girl in the long dress returned to her senses and shook her fist at Yolanda as she cried. Yolanda stood motionless without any intention of dodging. "Enough!" Sean walked up to the girl and grabbed her hand. "I can save your grandfather." The girl stared blankly at Sean with a look of hope in her eyes. "Sean, what are you doing here? I don't care that you can't handle it and even avoid responsibility. But now what the hell are you talking about? I know you can't save him. If you can, why didn't you do it before the ambulance came?" Yolanda could no longer suppress the anger in her heart and roared at Sean. "Trust me." Sean looked seriously at Yolanda, radiating confidence. Stunned, Yolanda held back words that had come to her lips. "If you want to survive, lie back down now." Just as Yolanda was dumbfounded, Sean was already squatting beside the old man's body. Is he crazy? Who is he talking to? What an idiot! There was an eruption of jeering laughter in the crowd. The ghost in midair had a thoughtful expression on his face. "Only this guy can see me. Maybe he can really bring me back. I'd better have a try. Anyway, there is nothing worse than death." Sean's eyes became sharp after the old man's ghost lay back in his body. 9 young rejuvenating needle could revive the dead if it exerted its full power. However, he just started studying Kung Fu and hadn't gathered enough power. So, he had to go all out. What was worse, there were many people around. He didn't want them to see the scene of him using the needle. So, he could only push the power into the old man's main acupoints. This was even more strenuous. "Little girl, believe me. Stop anyone from disturbing me. Sean instructed the girl in the long dress. Okay. The girl bit her lips and whispered. She was so worried that she would like to let anyone have a try. Hearing this, Sean reached out his index finger and pointed toward Tianchi Acupoint. His power was poured into the old man's body. Before that, the ghost went in and out of the old man's body. But now, it was constantly pushed in. His heart has stopped beating. How can he revive? Who does this guy think he is? Divine Doctor? How shameless. This guy didn't apologize for killing the old man, but even used the old man to build himself up. Little girl, don't let this brat fool you. You should prepare for your grandfather's funeral. All the people sneered, and then Yolanda came to her senses. Sean, what exactly are you doing? Stop messing around. Isn't my life bad enough because of you? You can't save him. Yolanda walked towards Sean with a cold face to stop him. Little girl, I understand your feelings, but your grandfather has died, so don't let anyone disrespect his corpse, reasoned the paramedics. The paramedics couldn't bear to watch any more. They stepped forward to pull Sean away. Stop them. Sean was too attentive to care about anyone. He continued to press on the old man's next main acupoint. Miss? The driver of the Rolls-Royce looked at the girl hesitantly. Listen to him. The girl gritted her teeth as she turned around to look at Sean. If you can really save my grandfather, all my family will be grateful. If not, we will show you no mercy. Little girl, he is a liar. No one can rise up from the dead. The doctors said that your grandfather has died. Why don't you believe it? Little girl, take our advice. Don't let anyone respect your grandfather's corpse. Everyone kept on persuading the girl, but her determination was extraordinarily high and she did not say a word. Behind the young girl, Sean was constantly pressed on the old man's body and even flipped it over sometimes. The others thought he was messing with the dead, and their anger grew considerably. But after all, it was none of their business, so they could not stop him. Sean, are you done? Just as Sean was about to press on the last acupoint, Yolanda rushed to him with a very ugly look on her face. Then she slapped him on the face, but Sean did not move at all but stayed focused. We've killed him. Can't you let him rest in peace? You've disgraced all the lanes. Yolanda roared hysterically. The old man suddenly coughed. He slowly opened his eyes in confusion. Save him. Sean sank down onto the ground with a pale face. He had been exhausted to revive the old man, so he couldn't continue to treat him. The paramedics and the surrounding crowd were utterly stunned. The old man who had been pronounced dead came back to life. It was impossible. Very quickly, these paramedics reacted and began to rescue the old man. When his condition stabilized a little, they rushed him to the hospital in an ambulance. The girl in the long dress bowed deeply to Sean with tears in her eyes and then left with the ambulance. Yolanda was also shocked, her eyes widening in disbelief. How was it possible to bring the dead back?